On a recent episode of the Wayspotters podcast, my dad said this on purpose.
While it's not 100% Wayfarer related, it is 100% Wayfarer adjacent. Hello, agents, trainers, keepers, pilots, eighth wallers, scouts, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Welcome to episode number 217 of the Wayspotters podcast. Here at the Wayspotters podcast, we want to do everything to help you become a better wayfinder. As we've always said, we want to educate, entertain, and excite. Wayspotters is brought to you by the good people at the Pokemon Professor Network and our friends at Pickaxe. And today is Thursday, March the 12th. I'm Blame Jamal, and I'm here with my good buddy Chris. Sir, how are you?
I am great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, it was it rained really hard this morning in Charlotte, and then it ended up being a beautiful day, a little bit chilly, but it was 64 Fahrenheit today. So
Wow.
we're on that upward swing and trajectory in the south to where it's going to get like burn your face off hot here in a couple of months. So just kind of enjoying the temperate area.
Yeah, I can. That's 17, 18 Celsius. That's not bad. It was 0 again today here. The other day it was really, really nice, and it poured. It was like 16 Celsius, and it poured. And there's just snow everywhere melting, and everything was muddy, and it was terrible. And then the sun came out for a bit. The kids got to play at the park for a while. Nice. And today it was 0, and we got a little bit of snow. Like, not enough to stick, but like a snow. Just like winter being like, I'm not quite done with you yet.
Exactly.
You thought you got away. No.
Yeah, we have a thing in Charlotte called fake spring, and we're like, is this
Yep.
fake spring or is this real spring?
Yep.
Like, I think this is fake spring. Yeah.
We definitely had fake spring.
Well, I thought this show was going to be really, really spicy, and it still might be. But it might actually be like, yeah, this makes sense. But before we jump into topic number 1 and get to the spice, let's go to the news. How about that?
And now, the latest Niantic Spatial and Scopely news from the Wayspotters podcast, presented by the Pokemon Professor Network.
Okay. You know, it's funny, I said last week, we haven't had this much news in a while, and then all of a sudden, here we are. The Pogo team has identified the issue with the spacebar not working. I do believe they have rolled out a fix. I had a couple people say that it has been fixed, so update your game to the latest version, and you should see a fix for that. And the nearby map not populating, which I believe were probably unrelated. They might have been related. I don't know. They broke something. So, Niantic Spatial announced that they are pausing the rollout of OPR that really didn't even get started. Like they didn't roll. It wasn't a rollout. It was just an out.
Yes.
And they're fully retiring Overclock, which I have never done in my entire life. I've never overclocked anything, but I know there are a lot of people who are actually quite upset about this. So I said it before, and it's like they're gonna lose people if they don't speed this rollout of OPR up. And they were just like, "Hold my beer, we're just gonna stop." Like, that's the wrong direction. Yeah.
So not only did they lose the casual English people like myself, now they're going to lose their hardcore people, because the only people that are overclocking are hardcore people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have not opened Ingress a single time since they made this announcement.
Yeah.
Like, I have no reason to. And finally, it's like, I think that Niantic must be listening to us, because this last piece of news plays right into the show that you have created for us this week. And I just think that it's just chef's kiss, kind of perfect. Drafts are here. You are now able to create drafts of Wayspot nominations from the Wayfarer website, which you can do from your phone out in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably maybe the greatest quality of life improvement for Wayfarers ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's getting lost in this is you can, and I don't want to bury the show, right? I need to talk about this for a second.
Do it.
People complain that they don't have enough nominations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need more than 40. I used to have 80, but now you have infinite. Really, if you think about it, you do. Because all you have to have is have one nomination remaining, and you can create unlimited drafts. It's pretty sweet. On vacation, you just create a whole bunch of drafts and then release them as you have available nominations.
Right. That's a great quality of life. It's something really we didn't ask for, but something we didn't know we needed, but now we have it.
Now that they've announced this and we have it, I'm just like, this is fantastic. This is amazing. I tried the process. It is so easy to just, all you have to do is upload a photo or create a title.
Right.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you gotta do. Right? But like, if you're gonna place the pin, like, you gotta make sure that you're close enough to still place the pin, right? So it's fantastic.
Yep. And that kind of leads into what we want to talk about. So should we go into topic number 1?
We should.
All right, let's go ahead and go into topic number 1.
This is Elf from Space, and I spot topic number 1.
Right. So topic number 1. So you guys know we always joke about, it's almost like we plan these shows. And when Chris and I sit down to record, we've usually kind of mapped out, so to speak, what we want to talk about. But today, I actually don't know what Chris is going to say or react to the topic. I honestly don't know. When I told him what I wanted to talk about, and I showed him the notes, his response to me was, I have thoughts, ... And that was it. That was it. So, they say a good lawyer never asks a question he doesn't know the answer to. I have no idea what Chris is going to say once we start talking about the topic. So you all are going to be just as surprised as I am. And this might be the first time since maybe the first show where I had no idea what Chris is going to say. So, without further ado, this is a hot take show. This idea was born 2 weeks ago, or last week, while Chris was giving his closing argument, when he was doing the sign off of the show, something popped into my head. And so if you guys were watching the video and you saw me kind of staring off into space, like the show just popped into my head, we hit stop on the recording and I said, dude, I have next week's show. And Chris was like, what? And I told him and he's like, huh. And I didn't have it all kind of thought out and written out like I do now. So for this hot take show, and you guys have already seen the episode art, my hot take is, what if Pokemon Go removed the ability to nominate POIs through Pokemon Go? What if they just said, you know what? If you want to nominate a POI, you're going to have to nominate it in the place where the POIs are voted on and approved, and that is Wayfarer. So there's been some things that have happened, Chris, this week, which have made this not seem like such a hot take idea, like the spacebar breaking and the map not loading. So for about 7 or 8 days, people had to, if they wanted to nominate, where do they have to go to do it? They had to go to the Wayfarer website. So it's almost like I put the idea out there in the gray matter universe, and somebody at Niantic broke something, and then they said, hey, you have to do it this way. And then they came up with this genius idea that made it much easier and gave people an incentive to go to the website and do it. So that's why I said this might not be the most hot take thing I have. But Chris, before I let you talk, because I can see it, I see you want to say something. Can you bring up the graphic? I want to bring up the graphic for the people because I want to explain to everybody the genesis of this idea and how I thought about it. And I've talked about this before a lot. When I've talked about, you see the banner, this is the first time someone has come to the forum, please welcome them. I went through and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 topics I pulled off of the Niantic Wayfarer, Wayfarer website. And I'm just calling it the number one question in Wayfarer. Approved, but where's my PokéStop? So What you're seeing here is a bulletin board. For those of you guys who are listening, you're seeing a bulletin board, and there's clips of the headlines of forum topics that I've put on this bulletin board. PokéStop not showing up after being approved. PokéStop not showing up. PokéStop where? Then it's in Spanish, and then it's in another language that I don't know. Why is my PokéStop not in the game? PokéStop not appeared. And that bothers me, right? Chris, you can pull that down. That bothers me. So what if Niantic removed the ability to submit Wayspots directly from Pokemon Go and instead required all nominations to be submitted through the Wayfarer website? Instead of submitting a PokéStop, players would have to submit a point of interest to the Niantic database, which would then appear across Niantic games like Pokemon Go, like Monster Hunter Now, like Pikmin Bloom. They've never had an update, or they may have one. That's but let's not get sidetracked. This would force nominators to interact with the actual Wayfarer system rather than treat submissions like a PokéStop request. All right. Have your say, sir.
I thought originally that I would hate this. I don't. I really don't. I want to say the thing that everyone's thinking right now is, if they only had an app that we could do this in. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
It's the number, since they created the forum, the number one question on the forum has been, I nominated this PokéStop. Where is it? In some iteration or some form, I bet you the question's been asked hundreds of times.
Yes.
And you literally get the same, like, I'm sure Cindy and some of the other ambassadors literally could probably type, you're not nominating a PokéStop, you're nominating that speech in their sleep.
Yes.
Like,
in
they
their
could probably
sleep.
be dead asleep, get a notification and be like a zombie, just typing it, because it's exactly the same message every single time. How do you prevent
I bet they
that?
have it like on a clipboard.
Yeah.
And then they just copy and paste.
Yeah.
Control C, Control V. You're not nominating a PokéStop. You're nominating a Wayspot to the
It's got its issues. It's got its issues, right? Like, and we'll get into the pros and the cons. Like, it has its issues, and you would probably lose a lot of people, but I don't hate the core idea of this.
At first you did, am I right? At first you thought it was such a hot take at first. That was prior to things breaking. Right?
Yeah.
And then things broke, and then people had to do it, and then they did this thing with the drafts, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, this is really cool. Well, let's go to the pros and the cons. All right. So there are some pros and there are some cons, and there are some things that they need to think through. But before we go to the pros and cons, I want to remind everybody listening right now who think this is a terrible idea. I go back far enough to remember when you could not submit through Pokemon Go. You had to be a level 12, level 10. I don't remember what it was. It was either a level 10 or a level 12 Ingress agent. That's the reason you guys are hearing my voice. Because I didn't play Ingress, and all the Ingress people in the area wouldn't nominate for me, so I had to go out and grind Ingress to get to the level, and then I kind of fell in love with it. But there was a time where you played Pokemon Go, and you couldn't do it. So there's plenty of new people who don't remember that. Now I sound like the old grandpa. I remember back in my day when we had to do, but I do remember back in my day when you could be a level 40 Pokemon Go player and could not nominate a POI. You had to go and find an Ingress agent. And I remember going on the old school forums back then and on Twitter, and Niantic Casey was giving everybody the advice, go find an Ingress agent and ask them to nominate it for you. I remember those days. That wasn't that long ago. All right. So let's go over the pros, Chris, because I think the pros and the cons, and everybody knows you're probably the more level-headed of the two of us, and I'm self-aware enough to say that. But let's do the pros and the cons, and at the end, I want you to kind of weigh it out, and let's see where we are. So pros. I'll start with a couple of the pros. Number one of the pros is going to force players to learn the system. Now, I'm going to sound like the gatekeeper that I always rail against, but I think there's a difference between being a gatekeeper and having guardrails, right? Would you agree with that?
I do, yes.
So what I'm looking for is some guardrails. I'm not a gatekeeper. So people would have to read the Wayfarer guidelines. Now, I'm envisioning some type of new welcome message or tutorial or wise words before it lets you do anything. So right now, Pokemon Go players don't really know the criteria. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's the God's honest truth. They don't know the difference between a PokéStop and a Wayspot. And I think that's the God's honest truth also. And they don't understand cells or eligibility. Now, caveat, cells are not acknowledged by Niantic, so there's no way for them to know that unless they're on the forum. But using Wayfarer would naturally teach them the system, and it would hopefully teach them that you're not nominating a PokéStop. That literally drives me crazy. It literally drives me crazy. You're not nominating a PokéStop. You're nominating a POI for Niantic. So that's part one of the pros, and that's where my guardrails go up, is getting, and this is going to combat a con later on down the line, but getting more educated and better nominators, putting it into the top end of the funnel. What do you think about that?
I think it's great. I think that if they had an app like that, my whole take on this is premised with they make an app, right? So you could log into the app, create your account, and it would be like, hey, you're going to do this tutorial. And it's the same tutorial that I've been begging for since I came on this show. It's a multiple choice. Sure, you can get it wrong, but we're going to go back and, just the questions. Make people answer questions to get through. And at the end of it, you could say, hey, now we're going to go and do a nomination. You don't have to find something eligible. We're just going to teach you how to use your camera in the proper way. And then it's take a picture of something. So you take a picture of something, right? And you put a little bit of AI magic in there. And you're like, all right, now here's what a good supporting photo is. Take a good supporting photo. And then make them take a wider shot of the thing that you already, so the AI could compare your main photo to your supporting photo and be like, no, your object isn't in the shot.
Yes.
Take a supporting photo. Yes. Right? And then it could probably get janky and piss people off a little bit, but you would have to make sure that the thing that you were taking a picture of was distinct enough that the AI could recognize it. But you could be it would stop people from just turning around and going, click, right? And then the system could walk you through the process of creating a good nomination, like a good main photo, a good supporting photo, good description, good title, good supporting information. And it would do it right in the app before it let you do a nomination. And I think that having access to something where, and I'll probably mention this again, where the Wayfarer team can control the narrative surrounding the process to create Wayspots, I think would go so far in stopping a lot of the problems that Wayfarer has.
I was at Raid Hour last night, and I was talking to one of the community ambassadors, and I was telling him, I wish we could have a rejection criteria of POI is not included in the supporting photo. Now, I know that would never happen, but I would love to give that feedback to the nominator that your POI needs to be in the supporting photo. So I'm glad you said that. All right. So another pro. Using Wayfarer would naturally, so we talked about that. Okay. So I think a pro of this is you would get higher quality nominations. So let me explain what I think. I think submitting through the website would mean you would get better descriptions, better supporting information, and more thought out submissions, because you're able to take the picture and put it on draft, put it on hold, and go home and write out a description. Go home and think about it. Because I know on the spot, some people don't function well under pressure, or they're in a situation where they can snap the photo, but they don't really have a chance to put the nomination in. Doing it at home later would give you a chance to go on Mr. Google and do some research and find out, if you're trying to nominate a memorial bench, who Susie Homemaker was and why she may or may not be notable, and you can go through and do it that way. Now, Chris, I think that would likely reduce people trying to nominate a couch stop, because they would look and go, oh, wait a minute, this is on PRP. This is not, just going to force them to think. It would hopefully cut out some of the generic businesses, because as they sat down to go through and finish out their nomination, they're going to realize, you know what, this is a 7-Eleven, or this is a Tim Hortons, like the front of it, not even a mural on the inside. This is not going to pass. Now, I put down bad photos, and I thought about that later. Without the ability, well, you know what? If they're nominating it through the website, they can upload additional photos in the supplemental, but you would have to take those on site. So maybe that's not necessarily a pro. But I think you would get people that would filter out kind of the random objects. And what I mean by the random objects is someone who just says, well, let me just throw this up against the wall, see if it sticks, even though I've done that in the past. I fully acknowledge I probably shouldn't have done that, but I have done it in the past. So what do you think about a pro being that the Wayfarer reviewers would be receiving higher quality nominations because people have more time to think through it?
I think it's fantastic. The drafts thing, just by default, the way that it's set up would lead to better nominations, because you can take multiple main photos, multiple supporting photos, upload one of them, save as a draft, and then go back to your computer with all of these photos, upload them to your computer, and look through them all and be like, okay, that's the best one. Oh, that one's got my finger in it. I didn't notice it when I took my picture. That one's got a picture of someone looking directly at me while I took this photo and give me a weird look. But this one doesn't have any of that. So I'm not going to use the one that I had originally done. Cancel. Upload a new photo. Because you can do that in a draft. If you had an app that you could do all this in, it would absolutely lead to better.
If you only had
photo. And it once you save it as a draft, it forces you to go to your computer. Like, I had one rejected the other day because I forgot to go change the description. Because as I have a podcast, I talk about this once a week for an hour and a half. I still make mistakes like this, right? Like, I'm a human. People are human, and it's just like it would force people by default, just by way the system is set up, to have better nominations and you would have better tools to make better nominations.
Also, with the draft, Chris, you wouldn't run into the 10-kilometer issue that if you're on vacation, like you said, you save it as a draft, and then when you go onto your computer, you're automatically inside of your 10 kilometers because you've saved it as a draft, as opposed to trying to do it the other way or trying to edit something. So
I think, on that note, I think that 10-kilometer thing applies to when you hit submit, not when you create the draft. So I think if you create the draft outside of your 10-kilometer and then go home, it won't let you submit it. I have to. So
we're gonna need to test that out.
Yeah. So put a pin in that.
I'm gonna try that tomorrow. Yeah.
I'm
gonna try that tomorrow. All right. So the other pro, I think it reinforces the real goal of Wayfarer. So Niantic isn't building PokéStops. They're building a global network of real-world points of interest in a database. Niantic just tweeted something about the drafts right now. It's like they're listening to the show while we're recording it, which is weird. But the website reinforces that mindset. Right? Because what do you always say? This is not a Wayfarer problem. It's a Pokemon Go problem, right? Mm-hmm. And it, if we're being honest, it would give the Wayfarer team complete control over the narrative and the mechanics. And it reduces the PokéStop mentality. A lot of rejections come from people thinking, why can't this be a PokéStop? Instead of asking, is this a good Wayspot? It would help the community shift that mindset to, we are Wayfarers. We are on the Wayfarer website. We are not creating PokéStops.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, like just having this outside of Pokemon Go would allow the Wayfarer team to control the narrative about what messaging goes into the nomination process. Right? And it just, like, you can take out the word PokéStop. It would not be in there anywhere. No.
Correct.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Correct. Right. So we would have more intentional nominations, right? So the extra step of going to the websites mean people who submit will probably care more about doing it right. And there will probably be a little bit less spam because people are going to have to go and look at this thing on a map and hopefully, usually when you do something in the heat of the moment, you just do it, whatever it is, nominating PokéStops, running a red light, whatever it is. But when you have the ability to have a little bit of time and thought, you usually end up doing the right thing, unless you're like a psychopath or something. Yeah. But that's neither here nor there. So I think you'll have more intentional nominations, and I think you'll have better quality and less coal.
Yep. And I think the one thing that we didn't touch on that I'm going to touch on real quick right now is Wayfarer team could control the whole process. So if something breaks in Pokemon Go, they don't have to go to the Pokemon Go team and be like, hey, by the way, spacebar doesn't work when you're doing Wayfarer nominations. And they're like, all right, cool, we'll look into it. And then the next time that we do an update, we will update that too. So now the Wayfarer team's like, we have to wait for them to want to do one of their own updates. And then they have to test their fix to make sure it doesn't break anything in Pogo. Right? Like, they might have done something to some other process that maybe it was not necessarily a spacebar that's not working, but it's a tapping, right? And maybe that was a PvP thing that they think, now we need to really think about this process. It might be but if you had an app that was controlled by the Wayfarer team, people would be like, you broke it. And they'd be like, cool, I don't have to go ask Daddy to fix it. Yeah. I can just fix it myself. You know what I mean? And it's just...
Now, Chris, I get where you're going with the app. I don't know if they're going to go back and re-engineer one, but I think the things that we're talking about, they can do on a website. An app would be so much easier, but maybe that's not in Scopely's roadmap, but they can do it on the website. So let's talk about some of the cons, because I know people right now who are going, well, what about this and what about that? And I want to talk about the cons. I really had to force myself to think about the cons, because you know me, Chris. Every idea I have is like the best idea in the world, right? And again, you guys know I am self-aware enough to pick on myself because I know I am not the smartest guy in the room, but I might tell you I am the smartest guy in the room, but I know I'm not. So I really had to think about the cons. So let's talk about some of the cons here. So the first con that I see is you would have a massive drop in nominations. Pokemon Go players submit the majority of the nominations worldwide. That's just a fact. If you remove the in-game button, the submissions would probably drop pretty significantly. Although I do have an idea, but I want to hear your thought on that con.
I mean, I think you can take out the word majority because they do all of them in nominations now that Ingress and Pogo split, right?
Yeah.
I think,
you got Saramanda and the Monster Hunter people, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's a long time coming, but I don't think we'll ever get there at this point. You would have a large portion of the Pogo players who are casual Wayfarers who were just like, no, I won't. I'm not going to do it. Right? And you would lose a lot of that. And I think that would be a significant part of the Wayfarer player base in a system that's kind of starved for people to participate as it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be an issue. I don't think it would be debilitating enough to completely shut the whole system down. But I think that the pushback alone would be very loud.
Yeah. Now, after I wrote this, the system crashed. So like I said, for the last 5 or 6 days, if you wanted to nominate something, where did you have to go, Chris?
You had to go to, well, I mean, you could do it. Here's the thing about that, right? Like they said, just go to the website and do it from the web submit. And I have 7 or 8 instances where people are just like, no, I'm just going to nominate it without spaces. Screw you. So I think that there are people out there who would just be so stubborn and be like, I'm just not going to do it anymore. right? Like there's a whole look at the Wayfarer website. There's a whole list of in the forum, a list of people who are just like submitting stuff because they asked. They said, "Hey, if you come across one of these with no spaces in the reviews and you think it's eligible, let us know and we'll go into the background and do something." I don't know. I've had a few that were just like, I would reject this anyway, so I just reject it and move on.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I've had a couple that people are stubborn, right?
So accessibility would be a big barrier. I want to acknowledge that. So submitting through a website requires a browser. It requires a bit more effort, and it feels less instant. One of the things that I thought about was Wayfarer. When you hit the submit a PokéStop, it could take you to the Wayfarer website, which essentially would do the same thing. And that might be the best functionality. Instead of taking it out, it would just redirect you to the web submit. And then just say, hey, this is the new way to do it. You have to do it this way. The old way's broken. We can't fix it. They probably could, and they did. But they could just, you click that button, it just sends you to the web submit. But I think there would be an accessibility barrier. It would be something new for people to get used to. And then that friction might discourage casual contributors. Now, there are some people, Chris, who are going to say, yay, the casual contributors are gone, less coal. But again, I'm looking for guardrails, not gatekeeping. So what do you think about the accessibility barrier?
I think it would be a big problem. I think that is where the majority of the loud voices would come from, is it's inaccessible to certain people. And anytime that you have a function in a game where you have to go outside of the game, it's not very good design, and it's frustrating for people because it would basically close Pogo. Like you would have to reload the game when you opened it back up. I think it would be an issue. I don't necessarily think it would be an issue that we could get around, but I am smart enough to realize that I am not in the subset of people where this would affect in that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm well versed enough or affected enough to comment on it officially. You know what I mean? Like I
know what you mean.
It would be a problem.
Right? Now I'm just wondering. I don't know if Niantic would ever tell us or put it on the forum. But what did the numbers look like the past 4 or 5 days with people who did the web submit? Like,
yeah,
I didn't see a whole lot of. Let me put it this way: I was looking, and I didn't see a whole lot of people complaining about having to use web submit. I was looking specifically for that so I could put it into the con section, but I didn't see anybody really saying I had to submit through the web and it was horrible and I fell in a puddle and my phone broke, or I didn't see any of that. And I was specifically looking for people who said they had a poor experience with the web submit.
I think you wouldn't, because anybody who had an issue with it is probably not on the forums.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Right?
That's a really good point.
I would wonder if, I haven't looked, and we probably should have looked before we started. I'm going to look right now. Reddit is anybody complaining on Reddit, you know, because that's where a lot of people go that aren't on the forums, which is weird to me, but you know.
Right. While you're looking that up, I'll go on to the next con.
Yeah.
All right. So mobile work for problems. Right now, Pokemon Go makes nominations easy. Take a photo, submit. With the website, you would need to upload the photo, type a little bit more, and potentially switch back and forth between the website and Pokemon Go, or switch devices and go to a computer and then come back to your phone. So there's more steps in there. Like I said, you're putting a barrier between getting from point A to point B. You're not going from point A to point D or E or F. Some people are going to argue that's good, that someone who's not willing to put the time in to learn how to do it is someone you probably don't want to nominate anyway. I don't know that I necessarily believe that, but I think a mobile workflow problem going from the app to a website is going to be problematic.
I could see on older phones, maybe you might have issues kind of going back and forth Again, I'm not in that group that would experience the issues, right? So I don't know that.
I was really trying to put myself in the casual shoes. I haven't been a casual in a really long time, but I was trying to think, like, what if my wife or one of my kids had to go and do this? The casual might not know the difference because they might not have nominated enough POIs to know that it's any different. I don't know. Anyhow, I'm trying to think of the cons. All right. Next one is slower map growth. New areas that rely on these casual players submitting things might stall. Rural areas especially could lose some growth. Do you think that's got legs, or you think that's a misnomer?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we're at the point in Wayfarer where a lot of people who use the system a lot are running out of things to nominate.
Yeah.
I could see it slowing down, and I think that it would be a pretty big issue if we lost a bunch of people who were submitting stuff, because, like we were talking about last week, I'm getting stuff from 3,000 kilometers away because there's not enough in my area for me to review.
Fair point.
And if we get to the point where I'm doing 10 reviews a day before it's like, hey, you're done, you're gonna lose people because there's nothing to do, right? And that
goes into the next point. That goes into the next point. Niantic, I'm going to speak for Niantic now. Niantic likely wants more participation, not less. So Niantic's strategy historically has been lower the barrier to increase contributions, right? So it's gone from 40 to 38 to 35 to 32 or wherever it is now. Removing in-game submission tool, but kind of going the opposite direction of them trying to get more people into the tent as opposed to leaving people out. So this literally could be seen as a gate. But
go ahead.
There's no level requirement with yes.
We had the same thought. Yep.
Yeah, there's no level requirement with the website. So theoretically, you're opening it up to more people than just Pokemon Go players. Theoretically,
there is, like, you have to be a certain level in Pogo to be able to create your account, but they could get rid of that.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I'm just saying, let it be WFO wide open.
Yep. I completely agree.
Yeah. All right. So we've kind of discussed this a little bit, but, what if, I kind of brought it up earlier. What if the player clicked new PokéStop and then it opened Wayfarer, and then the player had to go through that short tutorial, then they can submit. That might solve the education problem without killing participation. So you're not taking it out of Pokemon Go. You're just redirecting someone to go through Wayfarer, which essentially would, take care of what I'm trying to do with my hot take, but it would keep people thinking that they're in app, like, hey, this is just a new way to do this. So you click it and it just takes you to Wayfarer instead of having to go out of the app into Wayfarer. So I don't know that that necessarily changes anything, but I think that's kind of a common sense way to kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah. We've talked about the level requirement for Pogo on the show before, and we've both been you can't have it wide open because you need to have at least some semblance of understanding of how the map works in Pogo, and to a lesser extent Ingress, which is gone now. So I think that they would have to have some sort of, you at least have to have a Pogo account that's a certain either level or age, you know what I mean? Like you'd have to be a participant in Pogo to at least a point where we're just, okay, you're not just creating an account to mess with our map.
Right, I got you. No, that makes sense, because you would, in order to log into Wayfarer, you have to have a Pogo account. So they would have to have some type of limit. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But like, I go back and forth on this a lot since you brought this up like a week ago. I just really think that a lot of the problems that we have with Wayfarer is because you nominate from Pogo. And there's nothing in Pogo that really tells you what you're doing. It's just like PokéStop? Yes. Here. Go.
Right.
And that's it, right? Like it's those aliens in Star Trek. Now, this is going to be a really deep cut. When they kidnap Geordi LaForge and they're like, make us go. That's what this reminds me of. It's just like Wayspots, PokéStop, go.
PokéStop?
Right?
Yes.
And it's just like, you have so many people go through this process and get so excited. I found something that I can add to the map. I'm going to have this. It's going to be a PokéStop. I'm going to send gifts to my friends and they're going to be like, wow, you're great. Do this for me. And then they do it and it gets approved and they have this euphoria and then they wait and then they wait and then they wait and it never shows up and they get so disenfranchised. Either they quit because they're like, what's the point? The system is clearly broken. Or they find their way to the forum and someone's like, yeah, that's not how it works. Sorry.
Right. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. All right. Before we close the door on this topic, I put something in the images of the show channel. Can you bring that up?
Sure.
It's a forum post. I had some questions that I wanted to talk about, but I think they're more statements. So the statement is, would nominations drop 50% if this happened? I don't know about 50%. Would quality improve enough to justify this? Is the problem really Pokemon Go or poor onboarding? And should Niantic teach Wayfarer better instead? So, I wanted to bring this up, Chris. And I want to kind of read this. And this is something that goes back to September of 2025. And I've been doing some research on this, brother. So I'm going deep into the forum if I'm going back to September. You know, on a forum, going back 6 months is a long time because things change. So this person, the OP, O Abyss O, and the title of this forum post was, what's the point of having Pokemon Go if my nominations won't show up in game? Now, this obviously is a person who I'm just going to go out on a limb and say is probably not a long-time forum person, because this is a question that we see all the time of, it told me I could nominate a PokéStop and it doesn't show up in the game. So I want to read their post, Chris. Why do y'all allow us to have the option to create PokéStops when you won't allow them to pop up in the game, especially when it could help everybody in an area collect more PokéStops and help us get closer together? What is your excuse? Why are you wasting our money and time when your freaking app won't allow us to play the way we are able? Not everybody can get up and go walk. Not everybody has a vehicle. Not everybody lives in a town where Pokemon Go is popular. Now, I want to pause there. You can leave it up. I think this post has, I don't want to say it's the prevailing thought on the forums, but it has become a more popular trope on the forum with people who are new. That you told me I was getting nominated a PokéStop and I nominated, and then they're doing the royal you, and they're clearly not understanding that it's the community that votes outside of Emily, and it's not like Niantic is saying you can't have it. It's the community of us going, that's not eligible, bro. That's why it's not on the map. Your thoughts?
For those of you who are watching, you can see my thoughts on the screen right there. Genji nailed it. Your frustration is with the Pokemon Go development team, not the Wayfarer staff and community.
Right.
And it harkens back to the thing that we've talked about dozens of times on this show. It's this person is clearly rural, or clearly has mobility issues, right? Mm-hmm. Or they know people who do, right? I don't want to make assumptions about this individual.
Yeah, put words in their mouth. I got it.
But like that's not a Wayfarer problem, right? And
right.
As unfortunate as it is,
over and over.
But the problem is that's not communicated anywhere in Pogo, right? And the fact that it's like, hey, make a PokéStop in the app is half of our problem.
Yep.
And
I want to read a couple more things before I get the rest of your thoughts, because I think this is going to go to your point, and I think I have a feeling I know what you want to say, and I'm going to set you up for this. So you read the response from Genji. So Alice Wonder says, "Welcome to the forum. It's understandable that you're disappointed when your approved Wayspot doesn't show up on the map in the game of your choice. After it's approved, it has to meet an additional inclusion mechanism, but if it doesn't meet this inclusion rule, then it will not show up in the first place. But your Wayspot could meet rules for it to be a power spot, or if one of the existing Wayspots needs to be removed, your Wayspot will take its place. Your contribution isn't worthless, even if it doesn't show up in the game." And then the OP responds, "No, the entire Pokemon Go itself needs to fix the problem. I don't care. I deleted the game. Block me, delete me. It doesn't matter. I'm not playing the game anymore. It ruined my experience." And then Alice responded, "What would you suggest to do? Send a denial email? Show everything? I'm really interested how you would see a fix." So then Niantic Atlas jumps in and says to the OP, "Welcome to the Wayfarer community. I'm sorry to hear about your experience. As others have explained, Wayfarer is game agnostic. We focus on improving the quality of points of interest, and it's entirely up to the individual game, like Pokemon Go, to check to see if the Wayspot meets their specific inclusion rules before it can appear in the game. That being said, we appreciate your time to share your feedback." So I'm going to stop talking there, because not that this one person emulates anything, but I think people are getting really mad because it's like telling you, Chris, like, go to the store and buy something, and you go there to show up to buy something, and it's like bait and switch. It's something else. You told me I would get a PokéStop, and now you're telling me there's another level of checks, and there's this mechanic and inclusion rules, and none of this was told to me at the start.
Yeah, so when you open the game, right, it says PokéStop contribution. And then below that, it says PokéStop contribution. The button says new PokéStop. And it says you have 40 PokéStop nominations available today. Like, that's... Nowhere in there is it, hey, you're not actually nominating a PokéStop. And as much as we say... And maybe this is a Pokemon Go problem, like, at its core. Maybe I've been thinking about this wrong the whole way, and it's the Pokemon Go's team refusal to change the PokéStop to Wayspot in the app, because it will break the inclusion where it's in the settings. Like, come on, dude.
Right.
I think that if we had a way to control that narrative right from the start, you wouldn't have things like this. You wouldn't have... And, like, I want to say that deleting Pogo and not playing anymore because you had one PokéStop not show up is right. Probably a bit dramatic.
And a little bit hyperbolic also. Yeah,
a little bit hyperbolic. But, like, I get it. People get emotional. People get attached. People get that way about certain things. And that's fine. And I get that. Like, I've been passionate about certain things and been very, very frustrated and almost made rash decisions in my life. Like, I'm human. But, like, if we had a way to control the narrative and control the messaging that people see right from step one to step done, whatever that right. looks like in the middle, it would solve so many problems, and it would solve so many people from being frustrated and just quitting.
Sure would.
That I think it would be better overall for the system. I think that we might lose some people along the way, but I think the end state would be a better place for Wayfarer.
I agree. You can bring that down. I agree with you, because nowhere in the process is the word Wayfarer ever mentioned. And I know that, like Ken always says, it's the immersion that you want people to do, but are you sacrificing what's going to happen on the back end? It's like I've been saying, I've said this for months. As long as we've been doing the show together, Pokemon Go is feeding the horse, and Niantic has got the shovel and the broom behind it, right? You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, I mean, that's how it is. The Wayfarer team has to field these angry messages and clean this stuff up, where if you just had a little bit of prevention on the front end, you could, it's all that. Anyhow, I think, and I feel this person's pain. And I've said, I think every new person should be greeted on the forum by Ellie just trying, because I just do. I think that should be a rule. I think if it's a new person, their post shouldn't show up until Ellie wakes up in the morning in the UK. And then she gets to greet them. That's how it is. You're greeted by Ellie, and then you'll have a beautiful experience. She's not going to like that. Anyhow,
no,
that's neither here nor there. But I think Pokemon Go, I think the Niantic Wayfarer team should advocate for when you click that button, it either goes directly to Wayfarer, or they take the nominations out of Wayfarer or out of Pokemon Go, or the Pokemon Go team put some education on that page so people know your PokéStop is going to go into Wayfarer. It's going to get voted on. There's inclusion rules. There's criteria. If they're not willing to do that, then just take it out and let Wayfarer own it. So
yeah,
that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that the most likely compromise would be to change the onboarding in Wayfarer, so at least that it's drills it into them. Yes, you came from Pogo. Thank you for coming from Pogo. You're not doing a PokéStop, you're doing a Wayspot. And like literally have that verbiage in there and be like, I know that the game says you're doing a PokéStop, but this is the reasons that you're not doing a PokéStop. Just ask Cindy for her speech, and that's it. There you go. Because it's perfect. What she says is perfect every time.
We'll put it on the YouTube page, and we'll put the link in there always.
Like it's
all right,
perfect. So I think that's
let's quickly go to topic number 2 because we're rolling long. Let's go to topic number 2.
I wonder what topic number 2 is going to be.
All right. So topic number 2, I called this, are we entering the post-backlog era of Wayfarer? And I think it kind of fits nicely with the first topic. And this wasn't meant to be a huge topic, Chris, so we can kind of go through this quickly. But how did I come up with this? I put how did I in Chrome up with this? Anyhow, typo on my part. Whoopsie. So it seems that we have bigger review radius errors. It seems like Emily is doing a really good job of filtering out Cole. Q seems smaller and reviews are moving faster. So this is directly to piggyback on what you talked about next week and why I said the post-backlog era. I don't know that we're ever going to have a backlog again, because of the things that Niantic has put into place, and that's a good thing. I think backlogs are bad. So the question becomes, are we entering a new era of Wayfarer where backlogs disappear with Emily filtering out the garbage? When Emily was down, what did we see, Chris? We saw absolute coal. Absolute coal. You can have absolute zero. We saw absolute coal, which makes me think, who are these people and what are they thinking? Maybe they could use a tutorial. All right. Bad photos, junk submissions. So now those things are being filtered out before a human sees them. We've got these bigger review radiuses. So if Niantic expanded review areas by Chris's math theory, which I think is right, more reviewers equals faster decisions, right? The more people that see it. They're not going to tell us how many people it takes to review the nominations. I don't think we want to know.
Nope.
We've had people tell us. And I'm not going to share that because I don't know where that number came from. But anyhow, I think in this world right now, we have more reviewers than nominators. If the nomination quality drops or fewer people nominate and fewer people nominate during the winter, that's another one of my theories on why the queue is going faster. Bigger reviewing areas, more reviewers, and less nominators. Am I off base on any of that?
No, I want to clarify something real quick. When you say that we've had people tell us how many reviews, we've had people tell us their theories. Like we haven't had someone be like, hey, this is the number. We've had people say, hey, this is what we think the number is.
Yes,
right?
Correct. And that's a good way to clean that up.
Not ambassador, not Wayfarer employee, not Niantic employee. This was just someone who was like, hey, we've done a lot of this. We think this is the answer, right? And you know my feelings on this person, so
I do.
I know. I wanted to clarify that before someone at Niantic listening to this podcast starts some sort of internal investigation, thinking that we've gotten some. We don't. This is just someone's random theory.
And Niantic knows the cryptic thing you're talking about, so if they're listening, they know exactly what you're talking about. So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
I think that Niantic is doing things in the background so that the few of us who are doing reviews actually have substantial reviews to do.
Yeah, agree. And to that point, you, myself, and Tom Wee, shout out to Tom Wee, all had over 100 acceptance last week. So when that thing came out on the WDD, it was like we were 1, 2, and 3. It was like we were out there reviewing, boy. We were going for it.
Yep.
I need to get on that horse again this week before that comes out. All right, so here are the questions to close out topic number 2. Are Wayfarer challenges obsolete? What do you think?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's easy.
Unless they come up with some weird way to do them, I don't really think that there's a need. They'd have to get super creative, and there are, I will admit this, that there are Wayfarer ambassadors and people on the Wayfarer team who are way smarter than me, so maybe they can come up with something. But I've been thinking about this for a couple of months. The edit challenge was great.
The edit challenge was great. I mean, towards the tail end of it, I felt like I was just doing stuff to do it. You know, people are adding and subtracting periods and full stops just to get a number, but I think that the whole overall theory of it was good.
I think that the edits challenge was great in theory, but it just unearthed so many issues that I really don't think that they're ever going to go back to it again. Like, it was a great idea.
I agree. It was a great idea.
In practice, not so much.
Now, this is something that you have experienced firsthand. What happens when the queues get too small? So you have a reviewer who is motivated to sit down for 30, 45 minutes and review, and you get 10, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I can get to 75 to 100. Now, I got 120 the other day, which was great. But, like, 100 is a good number. Yeah. Because it takes me a while to get through to 100. It's like, I don't always get to 100. There have been days in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, where I never got the "you're done" message. I did today.
Right.
But, like, that's good. Like, that's good. If I can do as many reviews as I want to do, which is about 75 in a day, maybe 50. Sometimes I push myself and I kind of get into a groove. But, like, if I can get to the end of, like, okay, I'm done with this now, and never get that, no, you're done, that's, to me, that will keep me engaged, right? That will keep me wanting to come back tomorrow. Sure. But, like, if I get 5 days in a row, it's like I do 20, like, maybe I'm going to skip a couple of days just to let it build up again.
Now, here are some possible outcomes or some things that I would love to see. So, nominations get reviewed by Emily, which would be awesome, in the 25th hour. So, the reason why the 25th hour is where I want to start is we know you cannot upgrade something. Chris covered this last week in the news. You cannot put an upgrade on a POI until it has been in the system for 24 hours. Now, we know right now Emily is not currently approving anything, but Emily is disapproving things, and that normally happens. Again, these are all things that we've observed. Niantic hasn't told us this. We've observed from hour 20 to hour 22 is usually when our team has, disapproved it. It's rejected it. So my thought is it gets through that 24 hours. On that 25th hour, if Emily's ever turned on, it would instantly go through an Emily review. Or Chris, on the flip side, with the way the queues are moving, that 25th hour, it would automatically go into voting unless it's kind of geo-blocked by something else, like there's something in a neighboring cell. It's got its if-then, but theoretically, if it's in a cell where there's nothing next to it, it would go into voting in that 25th hour. People are going to need fewer upgrades. I haven't used an upgrade in a long time, right? I told you guys a couple shows ago, I nominated 18 things, and they were all resolved between the time we recorded the show and the time that the show went live. And it was unheard of. I was literally blown away. and had never seen anything like that outside of the time when Pokemon Go players first got the ability to vote, and it was that glorious magical time, and everybody had like 80 things go through in a weekend, and we were like, oh. And the other thing that I think we can see from this, or I'd like to see from this, is more global reviewing and make that more of a normal thing. Open it up even further. Now, the reason why I don't see a problem with that, we've had those challenges. Remember, it was Italy, Spain, and France, maybe, were the 3 countries. Remember?
I think so, yeah.
Something like that. So we've reviewed globally. I think I was able to get on the tail end of that Thailand one they had that one time, or maybe it was Korea. Language barrier is an issue, but I've always said, Chris, I think the picture should stand on its own more than the description. Show me the picture. I can look at it and I can tell you if it's eligible or not, right? Now, the description might be able to differentiate that this used to be a school and it's not. It looks like a school, but it was closed in 1998. Okay, that's where the description comes into play. But 7 times out of 10, the picture should stand on its own without a whole lot of explanation. So that's what I have for that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on those. Nominations instantly get reviewed in the 25th hour. We need fewer upgrades, and we make global reviewing a normal thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're at the point with Wayfarer that you're seeing stuff from far enough away that it's still culturally relevant and still appropriate for you to be reviewing. People are going to have stuff fly through. Like, I've never really had an issue here. Like, I've been thankful,
right.
But like you've had stuff that has birthdays, and now you have stuff that's resolving inside a week.
Yeah.
Like, that from where we were to where we are.
Yes.
It's light years. And I think we're at a point now where we've reached critical mass, and this is the way that Wayfarer is. And it's great. Like, I don't necessarily think that we need to change a whole lot, and I don't think that the last time we had a challenge was last April.
Yes, it was April, wasn't it?
I don't think we're going to see any more. I think that I have 195 upgrades. I would love to be able to do something with them, but like I will never need to upgrade anything again, I don't think.
Right.
Like, I don't want to say never, like touch wood that the system doesn't collapse.
Right.
I don't know. I just think that this is the golden time of Wayfarer, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
All right. On that note, let's quickly go to One's Gotta Go. This is a good one. We're running long. I was going to skip it, but I really like this one, so I want to talk about this, and I want to see what it is. This could be another hot take. So let's go ahead and play the jingle for One's Gotta Go.
One's gotta go. One gotta go.
One gotta go, y'all.
One gotta go.
Wait, one gotta go? Yeah, this one gotta go.
One's gotta go.
One's gotta go.
One's gotta go.
One gotta go. 4 items to be on the list, but one gotta go.
Okay. So One's Gotta Go. You guys all know how this works. So this is the video game franchise edition. In the upper left-hand corner, you've got Pokemon. In the upper right-hand corner, you have Mario and all the iterations of Mario, whatever you want to say, anything that's got a Mario in it, consider it Mario. In the lower left-hand corner, you have Call of Duty. And in the lower right-hand corner, you have EA Sports. It's in the game. I've always wanted to do that on the radio. So that's any So that's any game that EA has made: basketball, football, baseball, hockey, track and field, whatever it is. So Chris, what's your One's Gotta Go?
All right, so clearly we can throw Pokemon out. Like, that's staying. There's no way that's going away. I'm deep into my Fire Red play on the Switch now that it's available. Mm-hmm. It is giving me all of the nostalgia. Seeing that game up on the big screen of my TV just made my heart warm up so much. And then my wife and the kids were like, "Oh, we want to watch TV." So I pulled the Switch out and I was playing handheld. And I said to my wife, "I'm like, I think this is better," because it was like I was playing on my Game Boy Advanced again. It was like I was young, and it just it was so good. Right?
All the feels.
And I'm gonna get a Switch 2 probably next week, and then get Pokopia, and then so Pokemon's gotta stay. Mario also has to stay again for nostalgia. It was literally the first video game I ever played when I got a originally NES system. Although saying NES system is probably a misnomer. It's Nintendo Entertainment System. My NES.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I spent so much time, and it's so much fun for me watching my kids play the original Mario, getting like 3/4 of the way through the game and then dying and then having to start all the way over. They're like, "What just happened?" I'm like, welcome to gaming in the 80s.
Wait, you can't save it? What happens? Nope. And you get to that one spot. You spend 45 minutes trying to do that double jump.
And then like having my kids watch, I'm like, all right, watch this. And then like I find like the warp pipes in like 4 minutes. I'm in level 8, on world 8. Yeah. And they're just like, what did you even do? It was just so much fun. So Mario's got to stay. EA Sports, growing up, EA Sports NHL was a big part of my life. All of my friends, we would play hockey until the lights came on, the street lights came on, and then we would all go home, have dinner, and then we're like, all right, we're all going to go over to Johnny's house today, or everyone would come over to my house, and then we would have like an NHL tournament until the other parents were just like, hey, send my kid home.
Right.
And when I got older, my friends would come over right before we would go out partying, and we would pre-party at my house. We would have a little TV in the living room with NHL on it on my PlayStation. We would have actual NHL on the TV. So we would watch hockey while we played hockey, and then all of our girlfriends would be in the kitchen having their little gab fest or talking to each other, and they would just laugh at us. They'd be like, "Are you playing hockey while you're watching hockey?" We're like, "Yes." Right? Yes. And occasionally some of them would... one of my friend's girlfriends was really, really good at NHL, and she would wipe us every time we let her play. But she usually didn't want to. But so EA Sports, all those games. I still play Madden with my son. He actually beat my 12-year-old Jackson. Actually beat me about a month ago for the first time. Like, legitimately. He legitimately beat me. And he would not shut up about it for like 2 weeks. Right? So, it's guys. For me, it's Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the Call of Duty games. I think that the story mode on some of them are pretty good. But when you get like online, there's so many cheaters and there's so many people who are just toxic. Isn't even the right word. It's like magma levels of poison, and it's just it's terrible. And I'm not very good at Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. I used to play all the time with my friends, and I was like, I've been the worst one out of my friends for years. So, like, it's a me thing. It is a me issue. It's a skill issue. So for me, Call of Duty is the one that's got to go. It took me a long time to get there, but there you go. Call of Duty is the one that's got to go.
So I could go on here, given this is a hot take episode, and just come out off the top rope like Randy the Macho Man and say Pokemon's got to go, because you know this, Chris, mm-hmm. and a few other people know this. I haven't really run from this. I have never really played main series Pokemon games. Like, I'm an old guy, right? I was 23 years old when Pokemon came out, right? So I didn't grow up with it. I didn't have I'm the youngest in the family. I didn't have any younger brothers or sisters. I'm also the youngest cousin. My dad was number 14 out of 15. So there was 15 brothers and sisters. My dad was number 14. So he was the second youngest out of all his siblings. When my dad was born, he had full-blown nephews and nieces. His oldest sister was 23. So he had nephews and nieces when he was born. So I'm literally the youngest one in my family. So there was really no connection to Pokemon for me growing up. Or I was already grown, but I had cousins and stuff, but there was really no like connections. And that was why when Pokemon GO came out, it was like, oh, this is what people have been talking about for 15 years or however long it's been. Mm-hmm. Mario Dude, I remember, like, what was it? Hopping the turtle, skipping the turtle. Remember that? You would get those extra lives. EA Sports, I mean, name the sports game, and I was in it. I, too, NHL played a big part in my life because I grew up in Portland, and when the Colorado Avalanche, they were supposed to move to Portland, and then they ended up moving to Colorado. All my friends, we went out and got the NHL game. We learned every person's name. We learned about every rule in hockey. So there was a time where I knew more about hockey than any other sport because we thought we were getting the team. I'm just going to say my one's got to go is going to be Call of Duty, just because it is so toxic. I was going to put Fortnite in this spot, but Call of Duty is way more revenue generating and probably bigger. I think all the first-person shooter people like Call of Duty, and the younger crowd goes towards Fortnite. But if you've ever watched some of that online, I have never... I think being a sailor and being on a warship, the language would be better than being in a chat room in Call of Duty. I honestly mean it. I've heard some of the most interesting swear words and racist statements in Call of Duty, and I'm like, this is awful. So strictly for that, that's my one's got to go. So everybody who, and every time I tell people that I'm not really a main series Pokemon Go guy, I get people who want to talk to me for an hour. You ever been at a party and you're trying to leave and the person's got their hand on the wall in front of you and you can't go, and they're trying to tell you all about their 79 Camaro and the twin cams, and you're just like, I'm just trying to go to the bathroom, bro. So people always want to corner me and talk to me about, well, you need to go get red, and you need to get blue, and you need to do this, and you need to have this be your starter. And I'm like, man, that ship has sailed. I'm a Pokemon Go guy. Like, just when the new generation comes out, I'll learn the Pokemon. So that's my one. That's my one's got to go.
Yeah, I honestly love it when new Pokemon get released. And then you're in that little chat, you'd be like, I don't get it. What's so special about this one? And then, like, me or Pure Lighter or someone who does play the main series games, I'm like, all right, here's what you need to know. Like, this will not be good. This will be great. This is terrible. Yeah. This is just catch one and
don't power this up. Yeah, this is a silly fire Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it.
Let's go to break, and we'll come back on the other side with Wayspots of the Week and Call of the Week.
This is Darker Solstice, and you're listening to the Wayspotters podcast.
This is Elf from Space, and you're listening to the Wayspotters podcast, the podcast that brings a whole new meaning to the phrase, stop everything.
While you're waiting for your health to restore in Monster Hunter Now, you could be listening to the Wayspotters podcast.
Season 5 of Dad Jokes. You guys keep encouraging him. This is why we can't have nice things.
I used to run a dating service for chickens, but I had a tough time making hens meet. I just burned 2,000 calories. Yep, I burned my pizza. I walked into the library and I asked the librarian, do you have any books on Pavlov's dog and Schrodinger's cat? And she said, it rings a bell, but I'm not sure if they're here or there. I'd tell you a chemistry joke, but I don't think it would get a reaction. How does Bigfoot tell time? Duh, with his Sasquatch. I started a company making bread sculptures. All my friends laughed at the idea. Now the business is doing great. I guess you could say the dough is really rising. What do you call a blind chicken? A hicken, because it can't see. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you, guys. We had a pretty good discussion there, and we thank you guys for listening to us. We're going a little bit long, but we've got some good stuff for you. So we are going to go to Wayspot of the Week.
This is Elf from Space, and here's another Wayspot of the Week, which is probably another two-story mural.
All right, so this Wayspot of the Week comes to us from Xander, friend of the show Xander, and one of our executive producers on the network. So what you're looking at here comes from Liberty, Indiana, and the Wayspot title is Liberty, Indiana Looks Good on You. And it's a mural. It's a one-story mural, but it's on a brick building, and they've painted over the bricks blue, like a deep sky blue, and it says Liberty Looks Good on You with Indiana in the parentheses. And it says simple mural promoting that small town pride for Liberty, Indiana. Mural created by Maureen Feltz, Leah Penny in 2022. Now this one comes with a little bit of a story that I hope will resonate with you guys also. It came from Xander. He says, I was out on a date that day and I was telling her how I play Pogo, which she did take her back a little bit to 2016 and how I create PokéStops. He didn't go too deep into the Wayfarer lore, didn't even mention the mural by name, and I don't think she was locked in, and she told me that there's this mural that I should go and add to the game that's in town. So she drove him over to it after lunch, and lo and behold, there it was, sitting in an empty cell, waiting to be nominated, and he nominated it. So because of the story, and because it's Xander, and we love Xander, and because the mural is cool, that's Wayspot of the Week #1. What do you think, Chris?
I love it. It's got a great story behind it. It's a pretty cool mural too. Like at Liberty, it's good. It's great. I love it.
Yep. All right, let's go to Wayspot of the Week #2. Take it away.
This is Sarah Amanda, and here's some Wayspotters approved points of interest.
Wayspot of the Week #2 comes to us from Elf from Space. This is Greyhawk Bar and Event Space, and it is the sign for the event space. The description is colorfully signed, hand-painted by Judy Dempsey for the bar and event space where live performances are common. The bar also offers custom cocktails and cocktails with charcuterie boards. And it's a wood sign, and it looks like it's carved at the top. So it says Willowbrook, and then it's got Willowbrook Properties, and it's got like a little tree on top of a hill, and then the sign for Greyhawk right underneath it has flowers painted on the side, and like the flowers that are on the individual rectangle for Greyhawk are also, they come out and they go onto the pillars that hold up the sign, which I think is really, really cool. And they also go down into the next sign for the restaurant, bar, and coffee house. Like, it's just, the whole sign kind of flows into each other, and it's colorful, it's vibrant, and if you were walking past or driving past, you would go, hey, that sign would definitely catch your eye and definitely make you want to think about what is in there. And you would look into it, and then you'd be like, hey, I'm going to go there, right? So I think this is great advertising for them. And two, it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It is. It's very nice. Yep, I agree. I think you nailed it. Now, I want to share something with you, Chris, that is not beautiful and they didn't nail. It's Coal of the Week.
I've been working on the Wayfarer all the live long day. I've been working on the Wayfarer just to pass the... Uh-oh. Oh, no. Hey, Jamal, I found some coal.
All right, so this Coal of the Week. All right, so now this is the classic story where we need to educate people. This Coal of the Week comes to us from, this is mine. This is my Coal of the Week. That's why there's no name on it. I found this while I was reviewing. So now, I'll paint the picture for those of you who are listening. It's called Culturo Sandina Landscape Mural, a mural that represents the Sandina Mountains and the nighttime city. So what you're looking at is a probably 1.5 meters, maybe 2 meters, 1.5 meters, like rock wall, cement wall, and it's got a beautiful mural painted on it. On the left side, it's like the burnt oranges of a sunset over like a desert, and then there's like a line diagonal going from left to right, and then it's like pitch black night, and there's like a cityscape there. So it's a really cool mural. So you're thinking, Jamal, why is this Coal of the Week? Like, this is a really cool mural. Like, how could you possibly say this is Coal of the Week? So if you guys are watching this, you'll understand. I circled, you can see, Chris, where the pin is on the map, and I circled it. and that is Sandia High School. It is a mural painted on the wall at the high school, and that clearly makes it Cole of the Week. Now, again, we don't do this to ridicule or make fun of anyone. This is strictly for education. I don't care how beautiful the mural is or whatever it is. If it's on a K through 12 property, it is not allowed, and it is Cole of the Week.
Absolutely. Yep. And it's unfortunate too, because it's beautiful.
It is a beautiful mural. Now, the other thing that I know my podcast partner. So zoom out a little bit, Chris. Zoom out a little bit. I know you saw this. There is a POI at the middle bottom of the screen that appears to be on K through 12 property. I know your eye peeped that, right?
I did not notice that. Yes.
So whatever that is appears to be on K through 12 property, and if looking at the map on the bottom, it looks like it might be another mural that's on the front of the school. Do you see that on the left side there? That's probably what that one is, and that probably should be removed because it's on K through 12 property. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 POIs in the area, but I'm gonna guess it's that one on the left that is a mural. So on the school. So you know, guys, I don't care what it is. If it's on just think of it this way. The block that the school sits on, don't nominate anything on that block because that's going to be on the K through 12 property. Cross the street, go somewhere else, and then you can nominate it. But that other POI on there probably needs to be removed as well. So that's Cole of the Week.
Yep. Yes, it is.
You got anything else?
I do not.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and sign us off. And thank you guys for bearing with us on this one. This was a fun show. It was supposed to be a little more controversial, and I think it ended up being a little more common sense. But, you know, that happens. So that's going to do it for this episode of Wayspotters. Now, you know, we can't end an episode of Wayspotters without... We can't end an episode of Wayspotters without giving some love to the people who make this show possible. So first up is our incredible executive producer, Kate DeCons. You rock. A huge thank you to all of our amazing patrons. We love you. And of course, I've got to give a special shout out to our show historian, Maddie G, who's been keeping the record straight since day one. Now, we would also like to give a shout out to our gym leaders, Maddie G, Espeon Willow, KJ the Man, Herbert, Brandy, PJ, Fisher JZE, and James. Thank you guys for being our gym leader patrons. We do appreciate what you do for us. And I want to give a shout out to our executive producers on the network. And welcome back to Tish Smith, who is the Special Conditions executive producer. Xander, who we just talked about, is our Lured Up executive producer. And Monkey Bread is the executive producer of Good Morning Johto. Also, if you guys listen to Good Morning Johto, we've got a Wayfarer Minute that runs every Monday, but that's another thing entirely. So, and we want to give a special shout out to Boris for being our Giovanni level supporter. How cool is that? If you like what you heard today, there's a couple of ways that you can stay connected with us. Number one, we are on socials. We are on Twitter at Wayspotters. We are on Instagram at Wayspotters Podcast. And we are on TikTok at I Make Wayspots. And if you guys are following our socials, you notice we have a piece of content that drops every single day. Every single day there is a new piece of content that drops on the socials. Monday through Saturday, it's little 60-second clips of Chris and I. And on Sundays, it's the show proper. So please check us out. Don't be shy. Come say hi. Number two, you can check out our website, wayspotters.com. From there, you can download episodes and send us a message, or even shoot us an email at wayspotters@pokemonprofessor.com. Number three, we've got a hotline. That's right. You can call us 704-426-3710. Leave a voicemail and you might hear yourself on a future episode of the show. Or if you're feeling brave, you can tweet us a message directly from Twitter. Now, some of you may be watching us on YouTube. And Chris, for the people who are watching us on YouTube, what should they do?
Click like on this video, click subscribe, and also click the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video.
Number 4, if you want to support the show, the best way is by joining the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon. For as little as $1 US, you'll unlock access to the Discord, where you can hang out with all the fans and creators from all the shows across the Pokemon Professor Network, including Special Conditions, Gotta Watch 'Em All, Purified Podcast, Good Morning Johto, Sleep It Off, After Darkrai, Lured Up, and of course your favorite, Wayspotters. It's a fantastic community and we'd love to have you there. And finally, the simplest way you can help us grow is give us a rating on the app that you're listening to us on now. 5 stars really helps the show, and if your podcatcher allows you to leave a review, do it. One of us will read it right here on the show. That's all we've got this week for the show. We want to thank you so much for listening and watching and being the best part of the Wayspotters family. We'll be back next week with more stories, more nominations, and more fun. And remember, what's a few meters between friends?